Welcome back to the Matchbook Weekend Football Podcast. It seems an age I've been haven't been chatting to Adrian Clarke and Mark O'Haire. There's been a lot going on. Champions League rest for the guys meant Matchbook could focus on our Cheltenham preview night, which is out now for those that are into the horse racing or like having a bet around Cheltenham and Aintree, like Adrian Clarke, who comes in on the bandwagon once a year. All that content is available on our YouTube channel, podcast feeds, or Matchbook Insights. So well worth checking out. And all we ask, if you are a regular listener, do hit that like button. Much appreciated. And subscribe completely for free to the Matchbook YouTube channel. We are doing a race to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the Cheltenham Festival. And we're very, very close to that. Other than that, we'll get stuck into the 4 games we're going to cover this week. Nottingham Forest versus Liverpool, Fulham, Brighton, Luton versus Aston Villa, and then the small matter of the Manchester Derby. If you are tuning in for one game or something like that, like the Manchester Derby, look at the description and check out timestamps are available. But we'll start with Nottingham Forest versus Liverpool and take a look at the betting that we currently have on the Matchbook Betting Exchange. You can back Forest 6.2 underdogs to Liverpool, who are 157 favourites. The draw is 4.9. Both teams to score yes, 165. No is 248. The Asian handicap line will see Forest get a 1-goal head start at 208. The total 3.5 unders 176. Adrian, take this away, and an interesting selection from you, but look, we'll speak. It's a good chance to talk about the Carabao Cup final. Insane victory for Liverpool. They followed it up with an FA Cup win as well. The momentum's with them in one sense, but if you look at the injuries, they could perhaps struggle here tomorrow or Saturday.
Yeah, look, it's been a brilliant week for the club. They're absolutely loving life, and rightly so. They've won a trophy with the kids. You know, it's just so young, that team that was on the pitch at the end, and they should feel proud of themselves. And then they've gone and beaten Southampton 3-0 in the FA Cup off the back of that. So on the face of it, Liverpool are absolutely flying. But I feel this is a weekend where there is an opportunity to oppose them. We don't know who's going to return. I mean, Darwin Núñez looked fine, didn't he? I mean, that was astonishing, his display of hurdling when he ran onto the pitch. But so I'm assuming he might be quite close to a comeback. But assuming they're still going to be without a lot of their key players, this is a great chance, I think, for Nottingham Forest to push Liverpool close, maybe even potentially get a win. Certainly think that they can make this competitive. I've watched both the games, and for me, despite the outcomes, Liverpool were pretty fortunate in both. Kelleher was outstanding, and I know that he could be outstanding again here. But Liverpool have given up quite a lot of chances in both games against Chelsea and against Southampton. Against Southampton, they're outplayed for an hour. Absolutely brilliant from the Saints, the way they sliced through them. And they should really have scored 4, 5 or even 6 goals. Really wasteful finishing from the Saints. And then Liverpool nick quite a fortuitous one, deflected. And then they finish really, really strongly through Jayden Danns, which was a great story. But I just look at it over the 2 games and I think, well, yeah, were they that good? And would a Premier League away game at the City Ground be a big test for this group of young players, who are riding high on this wave? But could it be a step too far? And that's where I'm leaning in terms of my thinking around the game. You can get Nottingham Forest plus 1.25 goals at 1.82, and that means that Liverpool, a patched up Liverpool side, have to win by 2 goals for us to lose money. Now, they've been brilliant this season against bottom half teams, 13 wins, 2 draws. We know that. But Forest have beaten United at home. They've beaten Villa at home. They've beaten West Ham at home. They've scored in every game in the Premier League under Nuno Espirito Santo. And they've only lost 1 home game all season by more than 1 goal. And that was a long, long time ago at home to Tottenham Hotspur when they were beaten 2-0. So I give Forest here. We've got Awani fit. They've got Origi. They've got Elanga, Morgan Gibbs-White. The first choice centre backs are fit and available. So I believe if Liverpool don't suddenly bring back all of the star names at once, they've got a shot at this in terms of maybe getting a draw, maybe winning the game. And even if they lose by 1, we still make a little bit. So yeah, I just think Nottingham Forest plus 1.25 at 1.82 is a rare opportunity to back against Liverpool. They've scored in 11 of 13 home games. If they score here, Liverpool need 3. So, and Liverpool are more than capable of getting 3. We know that, but I don't know. And all those comebacks, Liverpool come from behind, I think, to recover 22 points. That's easier to do when you've got a great bench, when you've got, star names to bring on and change the game. But at the moment, they haven't got that. So, yeah, it's an opportunity to oppose Liverpool for me.
Adrian, I think that's a very solid case and a very solid start to the podcast. Mark, I am surprised to see you ultimately going away from that. So I'm looking forward to hearing your response.
Yeah, so I'm working off the assumption that some of the big boys are going to be available for Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp said before the Southampton game that Darwin Núñez, Mo Salah and Szoboszlai were touch and go. I was not surprised at all to see none of them involved in that game because the priority for Liverpool is the Premier League rather than a home FA Cup tie against Southampton. So for me, reading between the lines, is those 3 will be available this weekend. And if you put together a prospective Liverpool 11 to start at the weekend with those 3 included, it's pretty formidable. With all those injuries, they've still got Kelleher, Bradley, Van Dijk, Konate, Robertson, Endo, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Salah, Darwin, Diaz. I mean, that's not far off their best 11. So for me, it commands a huge amount of respect, really. This is a team who have won 18 of 26 league games. Dig deeper, exclude the top 7. They've won 16 of 18 league games, drawing just twice. One was away at Luton, where they dominated. One was away at Chelsea on the opening day of the season. They've already gone to Wolves, Newcastle, Palace, Bournemouth, Brentford, Burnley, and Sheffield United, and won. Yeah, not all of them have been completely convincing, but they have won. They were 166 at Brentford. They were 150 at Palace. So to see them around 158 at Forest feels kind of fair, really. Obviously, I don't want to get involved in those kind of prices, but I just think the leap from 158 to 2.9 to include a Forest goal and both teams to score alongside the Liverpool win is too big to ignore, really. From a Forest perspective, completely agree with Adrian on a lot of those elements. My big issue with Forest at the minute is defensively. Nuno is reluctant to use a back 3. Fairly understandable, really, but it worked to great success at Wolves, and it's meant he's done a couple of strange things with his team selection. So last week we had Moussa Niakate lining up at left back against Leon Bailey when you've got Harry Toffolo on the bench. Kind of an odd decision there, really, and unsurprisingly Bailey had a bit of a field down that side, and until Toffolo came on. So I'm interested to see what he does with his defensive setup. This is a side who have had plenty of injuries themselves in defensive areas, plenty of reshuffles, just 4 clean sheets all season. I'm not sure they're going to be able to cope with that Liverpool attack. But going forward, we've got plenty of promise in that team, especially at the City Ground with all the players fit and available. Awani, Alanga, Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi all playing pretty well at the moment. And they've actually scored at least twice in 7 of the last 9 and failed to score once in 11. But if you look at those 11 games, they were beaten by Spurs, Arsenal, Newcastle and Villa in that sample, conceding at least 2 goals in each of those games. But they did score in 3 of those 4 as well as obviously turning over United. But United are just a basket case of a team at the minute. So happy to sort of exclude them. Yeah, they're scoring freely, but they're conceding plenty of goals as well. I'm not sure the fortitude and the structure will stand up to the test of a Liverpool team if they are close to their best 11, which I think they could be, sort of reading between the lines of what Klopp said in midweek. So I think Liverpool's priority this season is the Premier League. The safer selection for me is to back Liverpool to win and over 1.5 goals, just shy of 1.8. But all of Liverpool's wins have seen them score at least two goals this season. But I'd be surprised if Forest didn't contribute. So it might just be a consolation here, but I think Liverpool to win and both teams to score at 2.9 is a very big price.
Okay, we will decide there. So Liverpool, both teams to score 2.9, the selection for Mark and Adrian. Forest plus 1.25 goal, 182. Before we pick, incidentally, we are recording this Thursday lunchtime, so keep an eye on injury news yourself if you're listening to the podcast later than that. But I will reluctantly go for Adrian here. Forest plus 1.25 goal.
I thought Mark made a good case there, though, didn't he?
He did.
I think the bottom line is you're probably better off waiting until after the press conference or even onto the day to find out. Because I think if those players don't return, my selection's probably something to consider. But if Mark is right and all those players come back, he's made a strong case at a good price.
Maybe Liverpool 2-1 would get both bets up with some returns anyway. Yeah. So that's what we will be hoping for on the Matchbook betting podcast. Fulham versus Brighton, Saturday, 3:00. Again, we're going in race card order. Check timestamps if you want to skip ahead. Fulham 2.7 Slight favourites here at home to Brighton, who are 274. The draw is 11-4 or 3.75. Both teams to score, yes, 161. Favoured in that market. The Asian handicap line is the draw no bet market, which we'll get into. Basically a coin flip with Fulham marginal favourites on 198. The total here is 2.5, and you can see the over round on the top of the screen, 100.84%. So really tight margins there. Adrian, we'll go back to you and start again here. Fulham Brighton. It's a decent game here. Fulham been in a bit of form and were fully deserved of their victory at Old Trafford. It almost felt they were robbed getting that equaliser, Manchester United. So to see them go and get the winner, I thought was due praise for them indeed. They definitely deserved it.
Yeah, I worked on that game, and yeah, they could easily have scored 4 or 5 goals. Fulham really impressed me. Yeah, great energy about the team. They worked ever so hard. The midfield, even without Joao Palhinha, worked really nicely actually with Lukic in there, with Harrison Reed, Rodrigo Muniz. I don't know what's happened to him. Just signing Breuer on loan has just perked him up no end. He suddenly looks a beast of a centre forward. So yeah, it was a terrific performance, great result, well deserved, and I think that the price just looks too big. It looks too big on Fulham at home against a Brighton team that are a little bit patched up, aren't they, at the moment? The Seagulls are missing a lot of good players at the moment. Obviously, Mitoma's out for the season. Joao Pedro's out. A number of the guys are missing that are hugely influential for them. And Brighton have a disastrous record against Fulham. They've not beaten Fulham in 7 Premier League meetings. They are their bogey team, basically. They've lost 6 of their last 11 away games. They've won just twice, Brighton as well, away from home during that spell. Fulham, by contrast, they win a lot of games at Craven Cottage. You know, even when they weren't firing earlier on in the season, they still won a few games. They've won 7 of 13 at home, which is very respectable. If the league table was based on home games only, Fulham would be 8th. And yeah, I think that Brighton have an issue defending balls in the box. I've thought this for a while. You've seen a lot of their games. They don't defend, crosses particularly well. And Fulham are one team that will put a lot of balls into the box. So I just think that the home team are priced up a little bit too big here. And they're more than capable of winning the game. I did think about playing it safe with the draw no bet, but I'm going all in. I think it's been trimmed in from 2.8 to 2.7 since I looked last night. So there's a little bit of money that's obviously come for Fulham, and I'm not surprised. So that's my selection.
Yeah, I'd like to think the money that comes on a Thursday morning is smart money, Mark O'Haire, but you're under similar lines. There has been a little bit of movement on the match for betting exchanges that Adrian touched on this morning towards Fulham in this market.
Yeah, because in my notes I had here that Brighton were favourites away at Craven Cottage, and they certainly were on Wednesday night and early Thursday morning. But that movement for Fulham has now made them favs, which is more palatable, I think, coming into this. I was kind of surprised to see Brighton chalked up as the jolly here. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the ratings, Fulham are kind of rated as a bottom 6 team in terms of expected points, and Brighton up in the top 8. So you can probably understand why the market is or where it was really. But if you take a closer look, the best work for Fulham achieve, as Adrian's outlined, is at Craven Cottage. The win at United was only their second away league win since the opening day. Their first away league win since the opening weekend of the campaign. But I looked at the underlying metrics and sure, they're marginal, but Fulham are returning a positive XG process at Craven Cottage, 53% XG ratio. Brighton away from home are actually returning a negative process of 49% XG ratio. So very marginal, but even still just kind of builds into the argument that do Brighton deserve to be favourites at Craven Cottage? I didn't think so. The market has corrected itself overnight on Wednesday to Thursday morning. But even still, I do think there's juice in getting Fulham onside in some way or form. Wouldn't put anyone off backing Fulham at the prices that Adrian's outlined on the nose, really. Those injuries for Brighton are significant. Mitoma, March, João Pedro, Gilmore, Milner, or absent, injured or suspended. Ferguson, Veltman, Welbeck are all major doubts in midweek. Hinchelwood's out as well. So you're looking at potentially 9 players missing, and arguably 2 or 3 of their best players as well, which just moves the needle a little bit more in Fulham's favour. Yes, they're about João Palhinha, and I've sort of eulogised about him over the last 18 months, how much I rate him, but they did cope really, really well at Old Trafford without him. And yeah, just their record at Craven Cottage just rings true to me, really. Even in the last game against Aston Villa, they lost that game 2-1. But Villa were just slightly more clinical and ruthless on the day. I thought Fulham went toe-to-toe with them for large parts of that match and could have easily picked up something from that game. So I think against a patched-up Brighton, if they can produce a similar sort of standard of performance, they're well capable. Bassi and Adebayo are back. Rodrigo Muniz are obviously contributing a lot now too. There's flexibility in that team. There's set-piece threat, plus the counter-attacking element now too. With it was epitomised by Traore off the bench last weekend, back from injury to set up that brilliant goal. So I do like Brighton. I'm not as down on them as many people are this season. I think there's valid reasons for their regression on last year. But 2 away league wins since August at Forest and Sheffield United means I'm happy to oppose them. I had Fulham +0 and odds against price, but it's chipped into 198 now. So yeah, I'm still happy to be with Fulham in some way, form. But if you want the bigger price, just back Fulham to win. I'm more than happy to sort of stand behind that selection too.
Yeah, let's do it. 2.7, but again, depends how you are as a punter. If you want the cautious coin flip approach and perhaps try eke out a bit of value, the draw no bet market on the match with betting exchange will invariably be the best price, 198. But we're going to lock in 2.7 Fulham to win Adrian's selection. Luton versus Aston Villa. This is a TV game here we wanted to cover. We'll take a look at the betting that we have on matchbook.com. Luton 4.5 underdogs to Aston Villa, 178 on the road. Who'd have thought that maybe this time last year? Draw 4.5. Both teams to score, yes, 155 or 154 now, trimmed in a little bit there this morning. The Asian handicap line, Luton get a 3/4 of a goal head start at even money. The goal line here, 3.5. You can see a bit of movement on your screen. The unders 178. Mark, look, I think I'd be really excited for this game if I didn't tune into Luton versus Manchester City and caught bits of that. They were absolutely destroyed. But look, it's the FA Cup, like you always say, Mark. I don't know if you got any of that, but I've never seen a team ripped to shreds. I tuned in at one stage in second half. City must have kept the ball, honestly, for 4 minutes without Luton getting anywhere near them. It was insane. But this is going to be a different game.
It's going to be a very different game. I'm happy to just exclude the FA Cup from all of my thinking this weekend. Even the Liverpool-Southampton game, I don't care what happened in that game because it's going to have no bearing on what Liverpool or Southampton do. Maybe Southampton, but certainly not Liverpool. You look at Chelsea, Leeds even didn't field a best 11 for that game at Stamford Bridge. So if teams aren't going to field their best teams, then I just don't think it's worth kind of valuing those performances massively. And Luton, I think, privately will certainly say amongst themselves they're prioritising Premier League survival over FA Cup progress. A home game against Man City was always going to be a difficult assignment. And Rob Edwards said after the game, really, that they like to be bold, they like to be aggressive. Perhaps sometimes they can step over that line and, pretty much suicidal the approach they took against City in midweek. But they were made to pay for it. So, yeah, I do expect a reaction from them. I do expect a much more rounded performance from Luton, as we've seen for the most part at Kenilworth Road this season, and home and away. In fairness, really, they've performed way above pre-season expectations, where people were stupidly sort of suggesting they would put a sort of record low points tally together after they won promotion, sort of failing to kind of understand the workings of that Luton side that won promotion. They're a very together unit, and I think they can cause Aston Villa problems. But ordinarily, I would look towards the handicap market here. Sheffield United, the only side, bizarrely, to go to Kenilworth Road and win by a margin of 2 goals or more this season. But, for the most part, Luton, especially against the big boys, have been competitive, have been aggressive, and have been bold in their approach. And I think they can cause Villa problems here. Villa, despite chasing top 4, have only kept 6 clean sheets in 26. Not the kind of figure you associate with a top 4 team. But we've mentioned it many, many times. Luton's hit rate of scoring is absolutely outrageous for a newly promoted team, especially of their stature. They've scored in 21 of 25 league games. 19 of those matches have featured both teams scoring, as they've only managed 2 clean sheets themselves. And at Kenilworth Road, they've scored in 12 of 13, 10 of those 13 games seeing both teams to score. So understandably, BTTS is strongly fancied by the market. The Premier League is now the top scoring league across Europe's big 5 leagues. It's overtaken the Bundesliga, 3.23 goals per game. Overs at 65%, BTTS at 62%, even over 3.5 around 42%. The Premier League is the place to be for goals. So you can understand those short prices. And Villa have scored in 23 or 26 themselves. So I can absolutely see BTTS landing here, but to make it a bit more of an appealing play, just going to go back to the old trick of backing both teams to pick up a booking in this game, because it boosts it right up to 1.8. And both teams have been booked in 12 of 13 Luton home fixtures. Villa have been booked in 11 of 13 away, and they've also drawn a booking from 11 of their 13 hosts. And Michael Oliver is refereeing, and he has stepped up his cards per game output this season. He's booked at least 3 players in 15 of 17 Premier League games this season. If you get about 3 cards in this game or more, the likeliness is we'll get 1 for each team too. So it's just a nice way of kind of boosting that price without asking for a huge amount more.
Okay, yeah, a bit of a cheat code there. 1.8, both teams to score, and both teams over 9.5 booking points, effectively 1 card each. Adrian, over to you on this one. Aston Villa away from home have improved recently. It looked a little bit more better on the road, and you're expecting to get the job done here.
Muted.
Come in again there.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I do. Mark's made a good case for both teams to score, and that's certainly part of my thinking here. But I'd like to pair it with an Aston Villa win. So that's the way I'd like to go with it, and it boosts the price nicely. Obviously, from 1.78 on Villa to win the game. Well, if you pair it with both teams to score, it's 3.05. It's a nice, juicy little jump, I would suggest there. Both teams to score for the reasons Mark outlined is a strong player. By the way, some Villa numbers on both teams to score. They've scored in 14 in their last 15 matches. So, even when they've had a rocky patch, they've still been scoring. 8 of their 13 away games have seen both teams to score land. And they've scored as a team in 10 of 13 away games. So, I think they're well worth, more than 1 goal potentially here. You've got Ollie Watkins back in form, Leon Bailey in outstanding form this season. No one's producing goals and assists in open play at a faster rate than Leon Bailey, which is incredible, really. They do have a few defenders out, which I think gives Luton the opportunities to score. Not that they need help with that, because that's not been a problem for them, has it, this season? And Villa have been a bit iffy defending set plays. 11 goals conceded from corners and free kicks and throws this year. So, and we know that that's a strength of Luton. So I do think Luton are likely to score, but my feeling here is that Watkins, Bailey, and others will have too much for Luton. Luton they'll be pressed at times, when they're looking to play out from the back. Villa are a very, very good pressing side. We know that. They stole a goal the other day, wasn't it, against Nottingham Forest from a high turnover, and I think that they're capable of doing that again. And Luton have been guilty of that quite a lot this season. I think every member of their back three, whoever's played, they've made individual errors on quite a consistent basis. If I'm being brutally honest, I think that that's one criticism I would level at Luton this season, is that they didn't bring in more Premier League experience in defence. They've gone with, rookies really at this level at centre half. And I think it's been costly. We saw what they tried to do against City in midweek, getting tight to them, absolutely shredded, weren't they, by Haaland and co. And I've seen a lot of games where they've, individuals have under pressure have cracked a little bit. And we know they're a good team, but man for man, they're not a patch on Villa. And Villa should be pretty motivated, as will Luton be, of course. But I think, I think their class will tell here, Aston Villa, and they will win the game. But I give Luton a great chance of getting on the score sheet as well. And it's a nice price.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to go with the bigger price here, 3.05, but under the lights, Kenilworth Road. Mark going for both teams to score and both teams to pick up a booking. We'll move on to the Manchester Derby here. This is Sunday, 3:30 p.m. kickoff. This is kicking off an hour earlier due to agreement between Sky and the police. City 1.3, United 11.5 to win in 90 minutes. Draw 6.8. Both teams to score 184. Apologies, I know there's not a lot of United fans watching this. The Asian handicap line sees United get a 1 3/4 goal head start at 198. The total for this game is 3.5, and the over is 2.04. Shows you there is goal expectancy in this game. We've been asked by a couple of YouTube commenters, Adrian, to be as kind as possible to Manchester United. They got a big win last night. What are you thinking for a bet here?
I'm not going to back United. Sorry. No, I'm not going to slaughter United. As I said, they were outplayed by Fulham last week, but bounced back against Forest. Quite an open game, and yeah, they create plenty of chances. So they'd have been lifted by that win, and obviously the prospect of playing Liverpool at home in the quarterfinals is exciting, isn't it? So yeah, I'm not going to slate United here. I do think that they've got one or two issues. I think the absence of Højlund is big. I really do. I think he gives them much more threat. On the counter there against City, if there's one thing that they're worried about, is pace up front, and Højlund's not there. I know that Rashford will play there and he's quick, but how much effort is he going to put in? That's the question. There's always a big question mark about Rashford at the moment in terms of effort. So yeah, I'm looking at their left side of defence. No Luke Shaw at the moment. Who's going to play there? Amrabat played in midweek. I mean, if they start with Amrabat there against Manchester City, that could be an issue. Maybe Lindelof will slide across and they'll work it out that way. But I don't give them much chance here. I still think throughout this season, results have absolutely outstripped performance levels for Manchester United. They've not played brilliantly very often. Obviously, last year 6-3 was the score. I'm not saying it's going to be a repeat of that, but I'm confident that Manchester City will win this. I mean, last 15 games, won 14, drawn 1. And I'm beaten at the Etihad in all comps for 16 months now. 2 years since they failed to score at the Etihad. And Haaland absolutely loves this fixture, doesn't he? Obviously a hat-trick in this one last year, along with Foden getting a hat-trick, and he put them to the sword at Old Trafford earlier on in the season. And I can't get that out of my head, that match, because that was as comprehensive an away win at Old Trafford that I can remember. They were superb. United will say, well, we got a goalless draw at Anfield. We're capable of going to these places and defending, but I'm not convinced. So look, I've done a little bet builder. I think that Manchester City will win. No surprise there. I think they're overwhelming favourites for a reason. I've gone with over 2.5 goals. Played it a little bit safer. Weirdly, the stats work against you there. Only 6 of 13 home games for City this season have gone over, which I find remarkable. But I do think the visit of United might pep them up a little bit and make them go all out to rub their noses in it. So Manchester City over 2.5 goals. And if you lump in an Erling Haaland goal there, which I think, is probable based on current form, it takes it to pretty much even money. I think 1.98 was the last time I looked. So it's a nice little fun one if you want to get on side with City.
Yeah, that's a fun bet builder there. One that does seem quite decent. I take it from that bet builder you're going Erling Haaland captain again in FPL, Adrian.
I believe he will get the armband. Yeah, it's a very rare weekend where he doesn't have it. But yeah, I know that you're looking for hints because you're very close to me in the league, and I don't want to give too much away. So I could actually be lying here, Dan.
Yeah, well, I'll call your bluff. And I'm tempted with Saka, but we won't get into that. Sorry, I know Marcus is slowly falling asleep there. Will Mark take it away with your selection here?
I'm back in Man City to win and both teams to score. 2.6. It feels like a nice price, really. I was quite pleased to see United lose at home to Fulham last weekend. It just shuts up the kind of growing sort of praise for Manchester United just because they were winning a few games. And yes, they were looking quite exciting, quite entertaining in forward areas, but the makeup of the team still failed to convince me. I still had very little trust in what Manchester United were trying to achieve, or even trying to understand what they were trying to do in their approach, because it's just been so mishmash, so all over the place, really. If you look at their recent wins, have any of them been comprehensive or convincing? And I would say probably not, really. The Luton game wasn't. Villa, I thought, were the better team when they won away at Villa Park. They nearly chucked it away against Wolves. That was actually a reasonable performance from United, in fairness. And the West Ham game was anything but a 3-0 win. West Ham could have easily scored 3 goals themselves in that match too. So, it was a deserved defeat against Fulham. There are so many problems with United right now. It's hard to kind of pick just one, but the issue I have with them is just the complete chaos and the lack of control they seem to be playing with. And it's almost like an intended ploy to be playing without any game management, without any control, and just embrace the chaos, really. And yeah, defensively, they're all over the shop. The injuries haven't helped, but that's still no excuse to be conceding an average of 16 shots per game, which is only worsened by Luton and Sheffield United. I think there's a lack of structure in midfield. Combine that with the lack of press in the final third and the deep defensive line, it's just got a recipe for disaster, really. But I expect United will try and replicate the approach and system they implemented at Anfield, where they, some would say, heroically held on for a point. They could and should have been battered in that match. So I think if City score early, or if City score in the first half, this game should open up. It could easily escalate into something quite ugly. But I think, as long as City score early, I think United will have to come out and play. City have scored 14 goals in the last 4 Premier League meetings with Manchester United, including 10 in the last 2 at the Etihad. So last season, United were wretched away at the best teams. This season, it's not been great. They burgled that 0-0 at Anfield, didn't deserve to win at Villa, lost by at least 2 goals at Arsenal, Spurs and West Ham. So, yeah, I'm pretty confident City win this game, win it quite comfortably. But I do think with Rashford, Garnacho and potentially others, they will have opportunities to attack City's high line too. And look, City have conceded in 2 of their 3 home Champions League group games, as well as 7 of 8 home games against the top 4 team this season in the Premier League. So, despite a recent run of clean sheets, Bournemouth really should have scored against them. And they're still not, for me, the complete package, or where we expect them to be, perhaps in late March, April, when things start hotting up in the Premier League and in Europe too. So the alternative I had actually was kind of go back to our old friend, the correct score market, and back any other home win, which was 3.45, which requires Man City to win the game and score 4 goals or more. Wouldn't be a shocker, I don't think, if City won this game 4-1, 4-2, 5-1, something like that, really. They've done so in the past, and I think they'll be relishing the prospect of doing so again.
Yeah, that any other home win is an exclusive market to the Matchbook Betting Exchange. The Bet Builder is an exclusive to the exchange for Matchbook, that is. We'll lock that in for Adrian's Bet Builder, but again, Mark has the City and both teams to score. If you want a full recap of that Bet Builder and all bets put up both now and coming up, check out Matchbook Insights or insights.matchbook.com. Adrian, 2 EFL selections for you. So take it away. It starts with Bolton.
Yeah, a couple in League One this week. I'm going for Bolton and both teams to score no. They're at home to Cambridge United, managerless Cambridge United. Barry Core, who's a bit of a legend there. He's taken temporary charge since Neil Harris left for Millwall. Cambridge are on a bad run. They've lost 5 of their last 6. They've blanked in their last 2. And they played recently against Bolton at home and lost 2-1. Bolton really dominated that game. And I think they'll do it again. They've got a lot of control. This will be a highly motivated Bolton because they've lost their last 2 games. Lost at Blackpool, bogey ground, real off day. And then they lost at Wigan, which is another sort of traditional, not a good place for them to go. But they bossed the game, but just couldn't score for whatever reason, and then switched off and let one in at the wrong end. So, yeah, they really need to win this. And I think that they're more than good enough. Bolton, in my opinion, are probably the strongest team in League One. They play lovely brand of football. They really do control games. And I think they'll come at Cambridge United and dictate it. Look, Cambridge United don't have a good record against the top 8 teams. 6 of their 10 defeats to top 8 teams this season. That's a lot of defeats. 6 of those 10 defeats have all been to 0. And that's how I see it going this time around. It's a nice price too. Just going with the BTTS now with Bolton just bumps it up to 2.3.
Okay, that's the first EFL selection. Second one in League One, Leyton Orient.
Yeah, it's price-based, really. I just think Leyton Orient have been a little bit disrespected in the market here. If the season started 12 games ago, Leyton Orient would be top. They're top of the form table over 12 games, top of the form table over 10 games. They've won 8 of their last 12. They're flying, absolutely flying under Richie Wellens. They've had a few injuries as well, but they keep grinding out the wins. They've got a real good thing going, proper momentum building at Brisbane Road, and they're making a late charge for the playoffs. And you can back them on the nose at just under even money here. I would have expected them to have been, closer to 1.7 for sure. But yeah, 1.95 was the price that I found before the show. And, they're playing Bristol Rovers, who they win some, they lose some. You can't hang your hat on the gas this season. That they've won 4 of their last 8. They've lost 4 of their last 8. What you could do here, and I wouldn't discourage anyone from doing this, is if you're not as bullish as me about Leyton Orient, maybe look at both teams to score at 1.81. Rovers games against the top 12 this season, of which Orient are obviously in it. 16 of 17 matches against the top 12 have seen both teams to score land, which is remarkable. So they're good enough to score against any team in the league, but they never keep a clean sheet against the decent teams, Bristol Rovers, and often they come out on the losing side. If you wanted to pair those, Leyton Orient and both teams to score, 3.9 is the price that it comes out at, which I think is nice and juicy. But yeah, for the sake of the pod, my strongest feeling is that Leyton Orient have been underrated here and that they're very backable at just under even money.
Okay, Bolton and both teams scored now 2.3 and Leyton Orient 195. And if you are feeling like there could be goals in that game, Adrian wouldn't put you off adding both teams to score either separately or together. Mark, 2 selections from Europe, and after my debacle last week for pronunciation, I'm not going to try and pronounce Rapid Vienna's opponent, so I'll let you take that away and then your other selections.
Yeah, so Rapid Vienna are hosting Austria Lustenau this weekend. Lustenau are rock bottom of the Austrian Bundesliga. They've played 20 games. They've won once. They've picked up 6 points and scored 10 goals. They are, across almost every available metric, the worst team in the division by a distance. Last weekend, they went away to Salzburg, who are top of the table. Not the same formidable Salzburg of previous years, but still the best team in Austria. They lost 7-0. They were 4-0 down after half an hour. It means they've now lost 16 of 20 league matches. They have been nilled in 14 of those 20 matches, including 7 of 10 away days. They're generating an average of 0.49 non-penalty expected goals per game when playing away, and they failed to score a 9 of 11 when playing the top half of the Austrian Bundesliga. So Rapid Vienna are 6th in the league standings. They're only 3 points off second. I've actually got them rated as the second best team in the league. Actually, they've returned from the winter break in really good form. They battered their local derby rivals, Austria Vienna, 3-0 last week. Previously, they drew 1-1 away at second place Sturm Graz, and they won at Wolfsberger as well. So they're going along quite nicely. And if you look at their metrics too, they've kept 8 clean sheets in 20, and they've been really dominant at home. So they're actually having more shots on target and more shots in the box than Salzburg when playing at home. They've kept 4 clean sheets in the last 8 across all venues, and they demolished Lustenau 5-0 in the reverse game too. So you can back Rapid Vienna to win to nil, or Rapid Vienna to win and BTTS no, basically the same selection, at 2.1, and that does stand out to me in Austria.
Okay, second selection.
Yeah, Denmark. I really like the look of over 2.5 goals. Viborg against Randers on Sunday. It is just 2 points between these two teams in the bottom half. Plenty to play for. They're both looking to stay up and edge closer to mid-table. Most of their matches tend to be goal heavy, quite expansive, largely due to the fact that neither of these two teams can defend. They're 2 of the 3 worst defences in the division. They've kept just 5 clean sheets between them in 38 league games this season. Overall, the league is averaging 2.71 goals. 55% of all games have gone over. Yeah, overs in this match is just 1.95. So I fully expected it to be shorter. My goals model makes it below 1.7 actually. So there's a big difference here. But the raw data matches up with the underlying metrics too. They kind of mirror each other, these two teams, and what they've produced so far, and it all supports a goal-heavy sort of prediction, really. Viborg and Randers have each seen overs land in 7 of their 9 respective home and away games. BTTS in 7 of their 9 respective away and home league games. Those matches averaging 278 and 322 goals. The XG comes in at 326 and 321. So yeah, I mean, everything points here towards it being a high-scoring game. I'd back it down to about 1.8. This is a bet that has 1 in 14 of their combined 18 home and away league matches this season, trading at 195, which feels like the wrong price to me. So happy to get involved there.
Okay, 2 selections for Mark O'Haire. Check out insights.matchbook.com, not just for a recap of all those bets, but also Mark's insights article. Adrian, take it away with a correct score. This feels two, not to go back to FPL, but I have 2 players, one from each team. I was trying to figure out who would be the better player to start, which suggests to me I was unsure. So this correct score seems on.
Yeah, well, let's see. It's a big old long shot. It's 8.8. I'm going for Newcastle United 1, Wolves 1. Now, the reason I picked it is that this game is drawn pretty much more than any other. These two sides, when they meet in the Premier League, have had 17 clashes down the years. 11 have been drawn, which is just an incredible proportion when you consider, how often or how rare draws actually can be. In 16 of those 17 meetings, both teams have scored as well. So I'm kind of putting all that together and saying one apiece. But then when I look at the game tactically and where both teams are at, it kind of makes sense as well. Wolves are in good form, won 3 of their last 4 Premier League games. Obviously, they won in the Cup against Brighton. So they're finding good form. They're not full of goals at the moment, even though Neto looks really, really sharp. But they're sort of, I would say, a little bit more defensively stable now than they maybe have been at other stages this season, but maybe slightly less formidable in the final third. So I think them going to St James's Park and scoring 1 feels achievable. As for Newcastle, we know they're defending badly. We know that they need a reaction. I mean, Blackburn created a bundle of chances against them the other day. Martin Dubravka was the hero really in terms of taking them through to the quarterfinals. So I can't trust Newcastle to keep a clean sheet. So I think Wolves will get at least 1. And Newcastle have scored in every league game at St James's Park this season. With the quality they've got, I think they could score 1. But Gary O'Neill isn't in charge of a side that get battered very often. They're pretty solid, Wolves. They don't concede multiple goals on a regular basis, certainly not 3s and 4s. So, yeah, for me, 1 apiece feels like the right result in the context of where they're both at the moment. And, yeah, it's worth a small one at 8.8.
Okay, yeah, and one to keep an eye on correct score markets, invariably best price on the matchbook betting exchange. Mark, take it away with Leipzig's trip to Bochum here. They were unlucky not to get something out of the Bayern game there last week.
Yeah, I thought they played reasonably well. The first half was pretty timid from both teams, really, but Leipzig came into their own in the second half. But yeah, lost it in the last minute to a Harry Kane goal, and Marco Rose was quite disappointed and frustrated after that game. So yeah, they're on the road again this weekend, away at Bochum, before going to Real Madrid next midweek in the Champions League for a big match. They may not have an eye on that game going into the weekend, but even if they are fully focused on their task in hand on Saturday afternoon, they still look drastically too short to win away at Bochum. They're around 1.7 to win this game. Bochum is a ground where many of the big boys have suffered and stuttered in recent seasons. They are your perfect kind of Jekyll and Hyde side in the Bundesliga, very similar to what Nottingham Forest were under Steve Cooper. Hugely competitive, competent and capable at home, and then quite often just unravel drastically when playing away. So they were completely outplayed by Borussia Mönchengladbach away from home last weekend. But the week before, they beat Bayern Munich and scored 3 goals at home. So that kind of encapsulates what you get from Bochum. They've lost just once at home all season. They've also won just once when playing away this season. So that's Bochum. Their Ruhrstadion is just a bit of a fortress, really. And they just command much more respect than what the market is giving them this weekend. I see they're at 5.2 now on the Matchbook Exchange to beat Leipzig. So that's going to be my long shot. I think I might be pushing the number a little bit to try and get it in as a long shot with your rules and stipulations, Dan. But I think this is worth a shout here, because in 2024, they've already beaten Bayern and Stuttgart at home, 2 top 4 teams. They've held Dortmund and Frankfurt at home already this season. If you look at last season, they held Dortmund at home. They also beat Leverkusen, Frankfurt, Union Berlin and RB Leipzig. So it can be a bit of a graveyard for the big fish going away to Bochum. Leipzig's last 7 away games in the Bundesliga have brought about 1 win, 2 draws and 4 defeats. They've conceded twice or more in 6 of those 7 games. And if you look at the matches they've lost, They lost away at Mainz. They lost away at Wolfsburg. They drew away at Augsburg. They drew away at Werder Bremen. The game they won was away at Dortmund. The other loss was Bayern Munich last week. So they're conceding goals. They're conceding opportunities. This feels like a big banana skin for Leipzig. So happy to be on the Bochum bus at around about 5.2 just to win. If you want a bigger price, include over 1.5 goals. Or if you like BTTS as well, we'll just boost it even further. But if you allow me, Dan, I'm going to back Bochum to win at 5.2.
Those reels are like most reels, they're only guides, Mark. So the Bochum bus will all be on that.
I like that line.
Yeah, same. That stood out to me. The Bochum bus, 5.2. Great case as well, Mark, for what it's worth. Adrian, the Arsenal Monday Night Football away from home.
Yeah, my best bet is Arsenal to beat Sheffield United. You must be thinking, well, that's not going to be a very good price. And you're right. It's 1.19 for Arsenal to win at Bramall Lane. But if you think they'll win with a clean sheet, and I do, becomes very backable at 1.92. So that is my best bet this week. Look, it's a great jump. Arsenal are facing practically no shots at the moment. They've conceded 3 goals in the Premier League in 2024 so far. The combined expected goals against across 6 games is 1.88 across 6 games, which is extraordinary, really. It averages out at 0.31 XGA per game. This is Sheffield United. This is the weakest team in the Premier League. I would expect Arsenal to have it, within their means to go there and win, and to give them pretty much not a sniff of goal. I also have won 6 away games 2-0 already this season. Sheffield United have lost 5-0 at Bramall Lane as well. They've lost 9 of 13 games overall, the Blades up there in Sheffield. So, they're not high scoring. They don't score many goals, Sheffield United. Just 12 home goals all season, the joint lowest in the league. Arsenal are absolutely flying. We know that at the moment. And providing the attitude is right, I would expect this to be a thoroughly professional shutout win from Mikel Arteta's side. I think it's quite an attractive price, actually, 1.92.
Okay, yeah, seems quite big to me. 192, lock that in. Mark, you've got a double up for your best bet, so take it away.
Yeah, it's Chesterfield and Anderlecht both to score over 1.5 goals, which comes in at 1.91. Anderlecht picked up a really big win last weekend against Club Brugge, one of the very big fixtures in Belgium. They went away 2-1, kind of strengthens their hold on second place in Belgium. They're back at home this weekend, where they've won 10 of 13 unbeaten games, scoring twice or more on 10 occasions and averaging 2.23 goals. As hosts, they're playing second from bottom Eupen, who've had a nightmare campaign really since August. They've lost the last 5 on the spin without scoring. They've now lost 17 of the last 22 league games, 9 defeats and 11 away, and they're giving up 1.92 goals per game away from home. It's 13 defeats and 15 against the top half, and in their 3 trips to the previous or to the top 4, they've ended in 4-1, 4-0 and 4-1 losses. So happy to be of Anderlecht there. And then Chesterfield delivered a really big performance last week to win away at Barnet. Puts them 23 points clear at the top of the National League, having scored 86 goals. They are the money men in the National League this season, and they're really flexing their muscles. At the minute, they're going away to second from bottom Dorking, who have just been turned over 4-1 at home by Eastleigh. They've lost 11 of 18 at home, conceding twice or more on 10 occasions. Chesterfield have won 12 of 17 away, including 10 of 12 at teams in 10th and below, and they're averaging 2 goals per game away from home. So, it's Chesterfield. They just tend to score at least 2s, 3s, 4s every week at the minute. So happy to back them alongside Anderlecht to score at least twice at 1.91.
Okay, yeah. 2 random teams, put them together. Juicy price to score 2 goals or more this weekend. I know a lot of Matchbook listeners will be intently keeping an eye on that. My thanks to Mark and Adrian. A reminder, our Cheltenham preview night is available on our YouTube channel and also in your podcast feed. We're very close to 5,000 subscribers. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the Matchbook YouTube channel and check out the Matchbook Betting Exchange for all these football prices. You will be invariably getting best price. I'll be speaking to Mark, Adrian and Miguel on Monday for a Champions League podcast. Until then, enjoy the weekend's football. Bye-bye.